Hi, everybody, and welcome to Music Career Radio. I'm your host, Nani, Noam, Vazana, and my guest this week is Aubrey Logan, trombonist, vocalist, and songwriter known as the Queen of Sass. Her album, Where the Sunshine is Expensive, made it to #1 on the Billboard's charts, and she made it all herself with 10 little fingers. How? Well, tune in and find out very soon. But first, I'd like to remind you that this podcast is done 100% voluntarily, but you can choose to support us. And by doing so, all collected donations will be directed to my DIY Musicians Fund and facilitate scholarships for independent musicians. So if you want to give the gift of education, please visit ydiymusic.com/donate and support us and many musicians that deserve a better education. You could also send a direct PayPal transfer to paypal.me/Noam Vazana. And hello, Aubrey. How are you doing?
Hey, Nani. I'm great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's not as dark anymore in the nighttime. So it's getting longer.
Spring is here. Here we go.
You must believe in spring. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't like these wintry atmosphere at all. Like when the days are getting shorter and you got to bring the light inside. And you just released a single that is called The Sunny Side of the Street. So I wonder where that is that I could go to.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's coming. It's March. It'll end nicer. But I get what you mean. These seasonal it's just the days are starting to get longer. I believe we're gonna have some spring in our step soon. So
yeah, bring it on. Well, I have to comment first of all about your infectious energy, which I love, and it seems to me like you're like a natural born cheerleader. And music is a lonely profession, as you know, and we don't get a lot of feedback on our work or about our personalities. So I guess that's why a lot of musicians suffer from mental health issues, and they find it difficult to motivate themselves in down times, especially now with the pandemic and everything that's going on. Maybe you can share some of your practices with our listeners to keep it alive and perky as it is.
Well, you said it very succinctly and very concisely when you said that musicians don't practice a lot of moderation in their downtime. There's always a need for more, isn't there? And I don't know that that's just a musician specific issue, but I think it's very human. And it just so happens that us musicians have very high highs on stage and very low lows as far as the quantity of feedback we're getting. It varies so widely. And we are, when we're on stage, presumably we're getting lots of applause. Presumably we're getting a lot of feedback and smiles and cheers and attention. And then of course at meet and greets, same story. And then when the show is over, or when there's when you are doing the necessary promotion that is required of getting your music out there, it feels like the opposite is true. Much of the time, you're not getting the feedback. And if you are, it's digital, which doesn't exactly translate the same way. And so there's a lot of highs and there's a lot of lows. And it's very easy to become dependent upon those highs. In fact, I don't know that there's a person in the world who wouldn't. I'm not sure that that's, I think it's pretty human, actually. It's just that we, in our job, happen to experience that a lot more in concentrated levels. And that can really spoil us. I don't say that as a diss. I don't say that as a put down, but it can. I think we're all human beings. And when we're fed a lot of feedback, I mean, and most of us who are, virtuosic or good at music get that kind of feedback as a children. We get it when we're little.
And raised with it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And by well-meaning people, because if you're a child and you sound great, adults are going to take notice, right? I don't think, and they're not to blame for that. but you will get, I mean, and I don't know that I'm sure I'm not the only one who, as a little girl, being told, oh, you're going to be just the best singer ever one day and so famous. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who took that on as somewhat of a responsibility instead of just instead of just a compliment, which it was intended as. It's my fault that I took it on as a response. It's not their fault. They were being nice. They were, and they didn't know. They don't know what they're saying, and yet. And many of them, sometimes maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're not. They're human too. So it's not, you can't blame them either. And I think a lot of musicians maybe do. I know I did. I would blame whatever people said. And what a silly goose I was to blame people for giving me compliments. And I can't expect them to know what it's like. I think and I did. I probably did. And we're all people, so we're all selfish, and we're all idiots, and we all, we all take this on and want to blame someone for how we feel. Sure. And I'm certainly guilty of that. I want to blame others for my own feelings, which is silly because I choose how I feel. Now, feelings are fine, and they are an indicator of they very often are an indicator of something going on, but certainly not to blame others for that, because that's giving them a lot of power, and they don't have all that power. So that's an illusion. But I think that what I practice, you asked what my practices are.
Yes.
Is I do have to tell myself, I'm the truth. I do have to tell myself the truth in a very proactive way, like I just told you. I have to tell myself. Easier said than done. Easier to say to someone else, you have control of how you feel. You don't need all of this feedback. You can live happily without applause. And you do have control over your own habits, whether that's overeating, over drinking, over being depressive, even though it feels like you don't. You do. And so my practice is I have to tell myself the truth. I essentially have to preach to myself. Also, I don't, as much as I do that to myself, I also understand that we aren't to be alone, and we aren't designed to be isolated. So it is important that I have people, a handful of people, your call at 2 a.m. people that's
very lucky to have.
Yes. Who I can lean on to tell me the same truth, who don't love me for my art and my talent. They love me for me.
Not your fans, but your friends. Because people want to be friends with you for many times for the wrong reasons, especially if you're on stage.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes they think that it will help them somehow. Maybe it would. I don't know. And whether or not that's good or bad, okay, but you have to keep your eyes open and use your better judgment and realize that everybody's human, and we have our we all make mistakes. We all have our pitfalls, and we need a support system. And humans are very fickle. It's very easy to believe things that aren't true, and it's very easy to indulge in those beliefs.
The fact that we believe that is already a testament to what we can believe about ourselves.
Absolutely.
Produce this fickle image of what we want to have, or what we want to be, or what we want to become, and it's not necessarily in touch with our real personality. What is that like? Yeah.
We also live in a time when fame is something that everyone wants, and they'll do just about anything to get it. Many young people want, just think that it would be normal to be famous. And there's nothing really normal about fame.
Yeah, it's like with the social media thing, like people can become influencers really quickly, and then Sometimes it goes up to their heads. But you mentioned responsibility before, which I really like. And it's also actually something that I suffer from. I take too much responsibility about everything. And I would love to kind of tone down that quality in myself. So how do you actually avoid taking responsibility for all the things that are going wrong on tour or with your career, or with I could have done this different, or I could have done that better? How do you tone that down?
I think a lot of times we have it backwards. We take responsibility for how everyone else is doing and feeling, and we take responsibility for things outside of our control. Meanwhile, being out of control with the things we actually can control, such as what we consume, what we wear, how we manage our time, how we love our family, how we love our partners, those are things
What
we
do
actually
say yes or no to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think if we were just to flip it and realize that we actually have the gift of self-control, but we're not God, and we can't control everyone else.
Yes.
If we just flipped it around, it would just be a lot easier to live life. What I don't have control over is the result of my hard work. But what I do have control over is that I can work hard. And I choose sometimes to stop working and go to sleep, which might mean I don't get as big a result as if I decided to work all night. But if I decide to work all night every day for days, my health will suffer, my family life will suffer, other things will suffer. So it's a series of choices, and accepting that the result is kind of out of your control.
Probably all the time.
Yeah. And that can lead to, I have a drummer friend named Dave Johnstone, who is in LA, and I've toured with him for many years. We've become very good friends, because as you do on tour, because you are like going through the worst of the worst and the best of the best with these people. Oh, yeah. And he would always say, I didn't have this in my soul like he did, and I'm starting to now. And he would always say, you just got to lower your expectations and then you'll be much happier.
It's true.
And he wasn't meaning it in a negative way. He wasn't meaning it like phone it in. He wasn't saying don't do a good job. He wasn't saying, don't be excellent and great. He was saying do a good job and do what you can, and then enjoy what happens as a result.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. I feel that a lot of times what makes a great artist is actually their sophisticated sense of criticism. Self-criticism, right? Not so much of their environment criticism. But if you can say, I made this and this and that, and then this and that are not as good, so I'm only going to release the third that. And then you're doing something right. And if you just go on and do whatever it is all the time, you don't have any sense of criticism, you don't narrow down your work, there is no control process. It's like doing an experiment without a control group, And,
yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So killing your darlings is like the serious thing, just to know, like, yeah. And when you go on tour, it's amplified, right? Because you actually leave your brains a little bit outside of the tour bus, and you gotta roll with the flow. Because if you try to control things on tour, believe me, you're not going to succeed. Like if that's one big tip that I give to musicians I mentored, like just don't try to do it on tour.
You're right. Do the best you can, and then learn from your mistakes and just move on. I mean, it took me a few tours to realize, when I budget for this, I need a bucket of money called crap happens. Like I need a bucket of money. I need to budget for things to go wrong.
Oh, yes.
Because it's not a matter of if. I had 8 people on a tour, and we missed our flight from Paris to Sweden on the day of a show because the monitor didn't change our gate.
Shit.
And we didn't make it. And then we didn't get reimbursed, and we were already tight on budget anyway. And that's a lot of people and a lot of airplane tickets, and we needed to get to the show, and then we had to book tickets. This is just one thing stuff like this happens on tour all the time. And then, you're booking tickets for those 8 people, but multiply that by even more, because when you book tickets the day of, they cost a lot more. And, so this is normal. That kind of thing on tour is normal. Even if you do a really good job organizing, there will always be something that won't go right. So I learned, when you budget for tour, you have to add a category called "this is going to go wrong." Stuff's going to go wrong.
Sure. Because a lot of other things can go wrong, Like I had issues with visas, cars breaking down, shows getting canceled, tornadoes, like things, weird things that you would never think of.
Outside your control.
Yeah. A musician missing his flight because he got drunk. So all kinds of weird stuff.
And then maybe you learn from that. You say you get one more chance, or you say you're out, I mean, in my case, your first gig is your audition, because I don't audition people.
Yeah, but it's true. If you can't tour with someone, if they're not reliable on the road, and as far as I go, they're out.
Yeah, they're out because it costs too much.
And it's also, you don't want to get stuck with any of the scenarios we just mentioned, or even worse, like there are worse things, with someone who is less of a friend. You want to be with friends when you're on the road. You want to trust each other.
At least positive people.
It's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. Friends or potential friends, for sure.
And travel light, like take all your luggage with you and have the smallest formation possible. So, like nothing will go wrong.
Right.
Size-wise.
And it will.
But many times, like I go on tour alone, I go solo and I hire a local band just to avoid these problems. Like we had a tour to the US actually. And then we got stopped at the border, and the guitar player couldn't go through because he had a Chilean passport, and apparently his visa, that although he lived in Europe at the time and he obtained a European visa, was not good enough for his Chilean passport, which he did not apply on. Like he applied on his British passport at the time.
Sure.
And then you think like, the visa is there, but hang on, we know you have a Chilean nationality. Show us the passport. Why is there not a visa on that passport? And it's like, are you guys serious?
Yeah.
Like we went through all the trouble of 3.5 months applying for the visa, and now he can't go in the country.
Your heart sinks. Yeah. Like with stuff like that, like my heart falls to the floor and my stomach has a huge pit in it just thinking about it, because we've all been there. And I've also, but like you mentioned, I've also had the privilege, after learning this about hiring local bands, of being able to play with so many wonderful people all around the world, because, and it also saves money, and makes everyone a little happier. And it's great. It's great to be able to meet people from all over the world that now have my book down.
This year has been shit, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like I curse a lot. I try to tone it down during a podcast. It doesn't happen. But yeah,
we are space.
Yes. So everybody was talking about 2020 going to, we're going to end this year and everything's going to be fine at 21. And I was like, no, it's going to be another year.
Back to the expectations. Back to the managing the expectations thing. There's no magic number when a year goes up, when the digit goes up on what year it is. It's not magic.
Yeah, it's not mystical at all. It's just a number.
No, it's just another day. It's January 1st, not December 31st.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why we love holidays so much, right? Like, because holidays mean something bigger, spiritual.
Of course. It literally means holy day. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, getting back to reality in a way, I saw you describe social media as weird on many occasions, and I really relate to that because unlike other business owners, musicians, we sell ourselves because we are the products. It's not like that we sell our artistry or our soul per se, but we are the product. So
Well,
putting
some
up
do.
well, yeah, some of them do. Bob Dylan said he did. Did you see that interview?
I believe him 100%.
I think it was Johnny Cullum who asked him, so how is it happening that you're still performing at 78? And he was like, yeah, man, I made a deal with the devil. And I was like, what?
He said it out of his
He
mouth.
said it. Well, who knows? I believe him.
I do too.
So, I mean, like if you put up a face, right, like on social media, like we do, especially with the common selfie culture, this whole hullabaloo of counting the likes and stuff, it puts a spotlight in a place we don't really want to put a spotlight on, because this is not the stage. This is our personal life. Can you share a little bit about your experience with social media and why it's weird for you?
Oh, it's weird because of everything you described. People want to see. I get a lot more likes on a selfie than a professional photo taken by an artistic, a trained photographer, for example. Yeah. And again, back to human nature, I believe that it just amplifies how sometimes depraved people can be and what they want to know. However, I also, as weird as social media is, it's also been a blessing to me, and it has been how I found my fans 100%. So I'm definitely not saying I'm leaving social media by any means, but I will make fun of it because you have to laugh. You have to laugh or you're not going to survive this life.
So laugh at yourself, man. Self-deprecating humor
none of us
saved my life.
Right. Sure. Exactly. Well, none of us are going to survive this life, but again, we're not going to get through it with any sort of joy if we don't laugh at some of the things we go through. And social media is just one of those things that I have to laugh at. And you know what? I have seasons where I'm feeling really funny, really like the jokes are rolling, things are hilarious, and I'm posting and people get it and it's great. And then lately I'm like, I don't have anything right now. I ain't got no ideas. I don't have any ideas for a caption. I got a new album. Do you want to hear it? No, you don't know about it? Oh, okay. So that's kind of what the experience is for me. And every musician, every artist has to come up with they know their own threshold of what they're willing to share. And I think that that's something I couldn't give you a set of rules, because I don't know always. I can't give you a set of rules of what I'm willing to share and what I'm not willing to share, but I know when I see it.
It's the same with music. Like when you improvise, you don't know what it's going to be, but once you do it, that's it.
Absolutely. I'm probably like, if there's a sliding scale of what I'm willing to share on social media, 10 is you're sitting on the toilet with me, and 0 is I'm only going to post anything professionally curated. And 5 is something, we've got some cats and we've got some shows and we've got, whatever. Like I'm probably a 4. I would rather not share a bunch of stuff about my life, except occasionally I realize, oh, someone's relating to that. Okay, I'll post that. I'm getting a little more, I have a life outside of music, obviously a big one. And people don't know that either necessarily, but I'm okay with them not knowing that. But it turns out we live in a society where they want to know that.
More than they want to hear your music.
Sure. Yeah. And so, I'm an amateur athlete, and occasionally I have posted things of that nature, and I don't need anybody to hear about it because I know what the real athletes do, and I'm nowhere near that. So why would I post anything about me training? And then I realize people actually like that. And then I'm conflicted because I'm not a professional athlete. Why would I post about it? I'm just an amateur, and I follow the professional athletes. they're doing it right. But then when I post that I'm trying it and training, people love it or they hate it and tell me how, that I should stop lifting weights or something. So then I'm like, well, I give up, I'm not going to post this. Yeah, I do Olympic style weightlifting as a sport.
Heavy stuff, man.
Heavy. Yeah, literally. But it's fun.
But people like stuff like that. Yeah.
They like it, or they say that I'm committing some crime by doing it. So I'm like, forget it. I'm never posting about this.
People asked me if I could post my makeup routine. And I was like, well, I don't have a routine. I just make it up as it goes. I do it when I have to go on stage or if I have an interview. But like I never do it on a regular basis. So I'm not like one of these people that wakes up in the morning and does her hair and her makeup. Like I would never do it if I wasn't in the art world at all.
Same.
And then, can you do a makeup tutorial? It's like, why?
Same. And yet, if you were into it, I would say, of course you should post it. If you like it and it's your thing and it makes you happy to do that, I follow people's makeup routines. I just don't post mine because I, like you, don't really have one.
Just slap a bunch of colors and see what works,
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have something on my finger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should do like a joint thing when I do my makeup and you do your weightlifting, and then we'll see how many likes we'll get.
Hilarious. On the same split screen video, of course.
Yes. And then you can do the likes on this side if you like Aubrey, and if you like me, do it on that side.
Exactly. Wouldn't that be appropriate? That is
Very
so funny.
It will be like athlete versus makeup.
Exactly. Or both.
Or you do your makeup while you're lifting things.
No, but I know some of the professional athletes, the female professional athletes I do follow have beautiful makeup on when they're competing. And I'm going,
Jesus. Don't you sweat?
Yeah. And you can see it. And people like that.
I avoid lipstick when I play trombone because otherwise the lipstick goes all over.
Well, how do you play trombone with lipstick? You don't.
I don't. I just avoid it.
Yeah. And here we are talking about makeup and we don't want to talk about makeup. I have a stain on my lips.
Where do you have a stain?
It's a lip stain.
I don't see it.
Great. See? Doesn't even work. I do. I have a little bit of makeup on right now. I have like a tiny, like very sheer stain on my lips. It's very, very faint. And I can play trombone with this on.
Okay, so send me like the model name or something.
And
so it doesn't go all over your face when you play?
Because it dries on my lips if I let it dry. And it's like very light, but at least it makes me look like I might have lips. And then I can play. I mean, the other day I recorded a music video and there was a lot of makeup involved and there was a makeup artist. And every time I meet a new makeup artist, they're like, ready for lips, right? Ready to do lips. And then I'm like, oh, no. There's a trombone in this scene. They're like, huh?
What's a trombone?
So you can't do we can't put lips on you? I'm like, no. And then they like, but if it's a video, we cheat because I'm not really playing. So like if I'm lip syncing, trombone syncing, they'll do a little liner or something. Or we do that what we did the other day was I sang all day. I did the singing part and we had lips on. And then I did the trombone part of the video at the end of the day and just ruined it all.
That's a way to go. Mm-hmm. We should post selfies with like a before and after playing trombone with lipstick.
There we go. That'll go. Okay, you do it.
That will go viral.
You do it first. Tag me and say, and we'll do a trombone girl challenge.
Yes.
Do your before and after photos of playing the trombone and then of your lipstick and then play the trombone and then show it. And we'll have to think of a hash. See, we just conquered social media.
Exactly. Bone lip. Ad lip.
Seriously, do it.
I will. We'll have to find the hashtag first.
Okay, we'll figure it out. I'll brainstorm. If maybe people can comment what the hashtag should be.
Oh yeah, do it here on like below. Man, it's fun to talk to you. I don't need the questions.
Give me some questions. I'm ready.
Your album, Where the Sunshine is Expensive, reached the Billboard #1, and you attributed that success to your fans many times. So first of all, it's great to be grateful. And I think that artists sometimes don't show as much gratitude as they can or as they should. So kudos to that, first of all. But also, maybe you can tell me how the model of asking people to order the album in advance is contributing to the placements in the charts. Because a lot of our listeners are kind of new DIYers. So they kind of unfamiliar with the methods and how you can get places with your fans and not only with labels or marketing and stuff.
So first of all, let me say, even though I'm a DIY artist, I'm not alone. I do have a team. I have a manager, and there's one other person on this team who helps quite a bit. However, you still feel, I mean, there's 3 people doing the job of 10 people. So yeah. It still feels like that. But what you do, there's something called sound scan. And I would encourage people to look it up, read about it, because the rules do change often. And with my new album I'm making now, we're having to collect valid sales and streams in a way that we didn't have to before. Before it was just sales. Now it's also streams.
Oh, that's tricky.
Yeah. It's tricky. But SoundScan knows all the rules. So check them out, read all their literature, read it in 5 minutes, because it'll change in 5 minutes. And essentially pre-sales, as long as the release date is some date in the future, pre-sales will count on your release date. I did ask my fans to pre-order, not only to help with numbers, like sheer quantity of sales, which helps, of course, with Billboard charts, but also helped with fundraising. Sadly, Pledge Music tanked, and I saw 0 of the money we raised.
Seriously? The platform you raised money on tanked?
This is
why I don't know tell people to do crowdfunding on their websites.
Right. So now I'm doing it on my own website. Yeah. Now I do it with my own store. But
well done.
This is publicly known that this happened. And yes, they went bankrupt and were unable to, so it was pretty devastating. It was one of those life lessons, if we're talking about expectations, that I realized, this was tragic and horrible, but sometimes in life, tragic and horrible things happen that you didn't bring on yourself. This is why I don't think karma exists, because lots of bad things happen to lots of good people doing the right thing. And I still think you should do the right thing. I say, screw karma, because you should do the right thing anyway.
Well, not for their reward, but you should do the right thing because you should
do the right thing.
Good, you should do the right thing because you need to be good.
Yes, and it's always the right time to do the right thing. But yes, so I was definitely not the only person affected by this. Not only were all the artists affected by it, but all the fans, because in many cases, fans were obviously not seeing the product that they had supported because there was no money. I brought up my bootstraps, paid for the album to get recorded, did have a small record deal. They paid for a fraction of the album to get recorded as well, a substantial fraction of it, but not a lot. It was still a lot of expense on my part. Mm-hmm. My team just supported me the whole time. We had to cut most of our PR because of it, sure. and go into I went into a bit of debt for it, obviously. And yet the music will be there forever. It's done. It's recorded. Yeah. It's out. People will hear it and are continuing to hear it. People are still saying 2 years later, I love this song. I've just discovered you today because of that song. So
Yeah.
yeah, bad things happen. But and that was not the way I used to think. I used to think, what have I done wrong to deserve this? And the answer is wrong question. Somebody else did something wrong and didn't budget, and now the company is bankrupt because of it, somebody didn't.
That's the responsibility bit that we were talking earlier.
Yes. And so not all my fans know that. I know a lot of artists that were affected by that went and immediately told their fans what was going on. I had a lot of feelings inside, like, I don't want to sound. I think they did the right thing. I think they did what they should have done. Yeah. In my case, I just didn't feel ready to tell people. I just was like, this sucks, but I want to keep this private. Again, I'm on the 4 on the scale of 10 on what I share, and I didn't share it right away.
Threshold.
And yet my fans, so while we didn't get the funding, we still got the pre-order numbers, and it was worth it.
Counted.
Yes, the sales still counted, even though the money didn't actually come through. And so that we're okay, what can we salvage from this? And number 1 Billboard.
The prestige.
Yeah. And looking back, it has long-term benefits. Not short-term. That sucked. But that was bad. That was really bad. But it had long-term benefits and has long-term benefits. I'm making an album now. I just finished. I released the first single, as you know, on the Sunny Side of the Street. Yeah. And then the album comes out in May, and there will be singles released in March and April as well. And it's pre-selling on my site, direct, on my store. And I'm also doing live stream concerts, and every ticket comes with a digital download, which of course counts as a pre-sale as well. And people want live shows again, and this is a way to do that. And it's also the fan gets the album, and the live show. So it's like, cool. That's one thing I would highly recommend musicians do.
Bundle their merch together with their tickets. Yeah, I do that too. When I do live shows, then I offer a CD or a T-shirt, like together with the ticket. And
people find that to be fun because I think they want to remember the moment, and it's why you go to Disneyland and buy a sweatshirt.
If we focus a little bit on, let's say, zoom in into one of the songs on that album that we just mentioned, the song LA, you described the lifestyle choices and conflicts that independent musicians have to go through and make the choices, of course. And as a fellow DIY musician, again, I totally identify. And I'm going to quote some lines from the songs. They're not in the right order, but bear with me. LA, where the talk is cheap and the sunshine is expensive. I make 6 figures and I'm broke. Everybody's friendly, but I still don't have a friend. The ones I had got famous or left the game before the end. Well, it looks like I'm still standing. If I don't win, I'll just pretend. Now, this is very autobiographical for all of us that are struggling to have an independent career. So how do you keep it up? What gets you moving and working like a mule, like we do every day?
It's a process, and over the years, it's changed. That song was very therapeutic to write and to express because it did get out what I was holding in. It crossed the threshold of maybe like a 7. To do that song, I could have been worse. It could have been a 10. It was a 7. But I barely ever cross a 5. So how do I do it? Well, that's when I would say practicality comes in. I now know that I need rest. I need to work out. I need to see my husband. I need to have some time sometimes to just do nothing. And I also know that it's unrealistic to make every day the same because of the nature of this job. So what I now know is that I can plan my day or my few days on a Sunday night. I can look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and go, here's what's going on. Okay, where am I going to practice? Where am I going to work out? Where am I going to da da da? And sometimes you'll have 3 days ahead of you that are just a sprint of creativity. And that's okay because you know you might have a full day off one day in the future. And as long as you know, then you can work like a dog for that long. So I do a lot of planning of what kind of work I'm going to be doing. And it's not like my husband's job, who's a software developer, where he time blocks his days. I time block my weeks or my months because it's different.
When you're on tour, you're actually blocking a whole year or a year and a half in advance. That's for some people very difficult. Also for me at the beginning was difficult to have a sight ahead.
Yes. And so that's how I do it. And again, this is not something I magically knew at the beginning. It's not something I magically knew. People who are new to touring will get on the road and not realize that you have to be very proactive on taking care of yourself. Only you know if you can go to the bar after the gig or not.
A lot of people cross that threshold before they know if they can take it or not.
Only you know if you have the stamina to go on a little excursion in town and then do the show and then do the 5 a.m. lobby call for the airport. Only you know. And there's peer pressure on tour because everybody wants to hang out. And I have to sing tomorrow. I can't talk to you tonight in a loud bar where I have to yell even though you're 12 inches from me. It's not the alcohol that gets you. It's talking in the bar that makes you lose your voice.
But I'm a party pooper, you know. I go to the hotel room and I continue to work. I like work 2 or 3 hours after the show, doing the emails and all the itinerary for tomorrow and everything.
And that's what I do, but in reverse.
You wake up?
Yeah.
Early?
Yeah.
I can't do that.
I know. I like to sleep at night. How non-musician-y of me. It's crazy.
I did that before I became a musician. I think it's a character thing.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in different time zones, all of this goes out the window. None of this matters anymore.
You become a time zone bitch.
Right.
Your body is not yours anymore.
No. But in general, I like to sleep at night. And I always have.
Do you take melatonin?
Only when I travel very, very, very far east. Sometimes. I don't take it habitually because that's probably not a good habit.
Yeah, well, not on a daily basis, but on tour. Yeah,
on tour I do at the beginning of a tour.
If you go to the same time zone and stay there. Like I had I think it was November and October before the pandemic. So we went to India and then we went to Canada and then we went to Vietnam and then we went to Israel. And then we went to the States. And then we went to Vienna. And I was like, what the hell is going on?
Oh, man. Girl, I have been there. We've all been there. That was a mistake for me. I mean, I went to Russia and then Boston and then Latvia in like 1 week.
There you go. And then you spend like 2 or 3 days in each destination. So everything is completely flipped. Then you go to the next time zone.
Australia to New York was rough. Going anywhere after Australia is rough. That's the roughest. Hi, Australia, if you're watching. I love Australia.
I love the accent.
And I love the place, and I love the food, and I love it.
I haven't been there yet, but I would like to go.
You'll love it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's beautiful.
Vegemite rules. Yeah, but sometimes you have no control. Talking about things you have no control of. Like you have this festival, or you represent. Like when we went to Vietnam, I was representing the Netherlands in the EU Music Festival. Like this will not change. It's not a gig that I can schedule according to my itinerary. So it's like
No.
all of a sudden, we got the funding, we're going. And
Right.
like last minute, okay, let's buy plane tickets.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the Boston gig paid for the Russia gig, so I had to do it. It's always that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it.
Man. Let's talk about your new album, Standard. It's a jazz album, surprisingly.
Finally.
And I saw this video, Sunny Side of the Street, and it seems like you had a lot of fun. You produced it like by yourself, right? As a DIY record producer. And a lot of people that listen to this podcast, they're like either going to do their first album, or they released an EP and they're not going to release a debut, and they're like on the verge of doing something for the first time. So from a standing point of an independent record producer, can you maybe share some details about your work process when making the album?
Yeah. First of all, I would say if you're on the cusp of doing something and something's holding you back, or you're afraid to do it, you just have to do it. Because you're going to learn from every experience. And this was the easiest album I've ever made emotionally, because I've done 2 already. They both were difficult and emotional and budget-wise and all of it. But this time I was just like, I think I'm just going to try and do my best and let that be enough. So
you got to bottle it and sell, like this feeling. I would pay to drink it.
And if it's not your best, and that will make you be awake at night. So, So I had moved to a new city, and it was a pandemic. And so I wasn't on tour. That also made it a little easier to make an album. Turns out when you're in one spot, logistically, it's a little easier.
Life is easier.
Yeah. And harder because there's not real work going on. But I found I used the resources I had. And that's another thing. Just take what you have and ask yourself, not what can't I do with this? What can I do with this? Not what does someone else have and I want it. That's what babies do. Don't be a baby, be an adult and say, what do I have? And what can I do with what I have? So that's what I did. And what I had was a new city and no musicians that I knew at all. But what I did have was Instagram. So I started following the hashtag Austin musician. Turns out there's a lot, but I knew that before I moved here, which is because I did my research. Turns out there's a lot of jazz musicians here, a whole lot, and they're world class. And you know this, Nani, if you find one world-class musician, you have found them all.
Yeah, because they're all friends.
That's how it works. So I found one, and I did a live stream show with him. He was doing a live stream show. And then he was a piano player, and then there's the bass player, and then there's the drummer. And then
is that the show that I've seen that is a trio that hosted you?
There's more than one, probably, at this point. And then the piano player, he's wonderful. I highly recommend going and watching Monk's Jazz, especially. And you should do an interview with Colin.
Put us in touch.
I will with Colin Shook. Colin himself told me, you need a different piano player than me. And I'm going, huh? And I love this guy already. Good man. And he recommended Sean Giddings, who co-produced my new album with me. So I produced the album with Sean. I'm not an audio person. I'm not a tech person at all. So I did all the arranging. I'm an arranger and a composer. That's what I do. I don't know anything about a microphone though. So I composed and arranged it. And we actually turns out we had time on our hands because of the fact we weren't touring. We got together and rehearsed it at Sean's house. And we're able to do the album in 2 days because we weren't rehearsing during the album. And I hate rehearsing. I loathe it. I know many people love it. I tour with Dave Koz, a saxophone player, an R&B saxophone player in the States. He loves rehearsing, and I don't blame him, because I understand wanting to make something great. I get it. I just prefer doing that by myself, alone. And then getting together with people who've all done it all by themselves, and then we get it done quickly.
Well,
and then
you're
done.
lucky to be a jazz musician, because if you are in the pop world, try to rehearse your arrangements with the guys. You just don't do anything at home, and they just can't fathom what the sound is going to be. And with the jazz world, it's like, yeah, let's play. It's going to be fun.
Right. Well, and I've done what you've just said. I'm in the pop world. I have my feet. I'm not in any club. I'm not accepted fully into any of them. So I've done a lot of rehearsing. I do enjoy when it's like a musical theater production. That's cool, because having the context does actually help me get it down better.
Yeah, but it's way too many rehearsals. I've done musical theater, and then you do like 2 weeks of every day, morning till night, and then you play 200 shows afterwards. You know, you know everything by heart, every line of each musician and every actor. I could have recited the entire fucking musical on my own.
And that's why they're so tight. And that's why they're so good. That's why they're so perfect. It's just a different art.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Right. But back to the album, you know, it was really fun. It was really great. And it was quite prepared, because I do arrangements. They're not totally loose. Like, they're arranged. And
are the solos arranged?
No. But the tunes are. Yeah. And you know, we did a very elaborate arrangement of The Marriage of Figaro. Figaro. Yeah.
I'm picturing Robin Williams now.
Right. Yeah. Flores's Soul. So we did that in a jazz arrangement, and that was quite arranged. But we played it real fast in the session, because we'd already run it together.
Yeah.
So that's how that went. Sean took on the really heavy mixing day. I just didn't even go, because it was a lot of tedium, because we had acoustic bass, we had a lot of drum mics, it's a lot of, you know, stuff, all live audio. So they wanted to make sure everything was brought out the right way. And I had done a lot.
If it's in the same room, if you're recording in the same space, it's crucial that everything is super right in the right position in the mix.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of letting the nerds be the nerds at what they're nerdy at. And I'm not nerdy at that. Right. I'm not nerdy at that. I don't understand it. I know when it's bad or when it's good, but I don't know why. And so Sean's like, why don't you just not come today? And I'm like, perfect. I'm not gonna.
And so I didn't. Control alert.
Yeah, and he did one arrangement on the album, and I did all the rest. So he didn't come to that, you know. So we just like, okay, you do your thing, I'll do my thing, and then we come together and we make the magic, and then everyone's happy. And that's how it.
Ready to go, man.
It's like, why don't you just go be a singer?
I was just born not letting go. I probably held the umbilical cord like...
Me too. Weren't we all? Yeah.
I don't know I know some musicians that just don't care.
You're right.
Whatever.
Stacey Abrams is a friend of mine. You should also interview him.
Hook us up and we'll have a band at the end. That's what it's gonna roll.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So another aspect of producing is being your own CEO. So a lot of musicians I see struggle with hiring their bandmates. And, especially we are girls, right? And we're surrounded by guys in the industry all the time. How do we become the boss without flicking this weird feeling of them thinking that we're bossy?
Yeah. I really do believe that as long as we remain respectful in our hearts, you know, they're people, and they need, and, you know, let go of whatever it is they think, but respect them and just come at it with a attitude of, if I were working for someone, what would I want to know? What would I want to be told ahead of time? Yeah. What time to show up, what to wear, where it is, what I'm getting paid. Several things I would want to know so that I could make an informed decision whether or not I'm going to do it. Sure. And I don't really care if it's a woman or a man or anyone or how old they are. I care.
You're unique. That's
well, I don't care. And I just want to know that. And then conversely, if I'm if I'm a boss, I want people to show up prepared under the circumstances that I let them be aware of how to be prepared. If I say, guys, I don't know what the repertoire is, then I'm going to expect they're going to come not knowing what it is. And that's fine. And to be a boss, I just have to put myself in their shoes and then also realize that sometimes there's going to be conflict. My needs are going to be different than their needs. And I'm just going to have to kind of lay down the law and say, take it or leave it, man. You here doing this or not? And I have to realize I might not have the money to pay them what they're worth. So I have to be able to assume that it's their fault if they took the gig and didn't want it.
So, and that's passing hard. The responsibility ahead. Yeah.
Again, there's such a theme today.
Yeah, Nani. I love it.
Such a theme. And so I don't really care if they're men. I don't really care if they're women. I care if they're here doing a good job and being respectful. And for the most part, by and large, everyone that I have people I work with are respectful and good at what they do and reliable. And that's all that matters to me. And I hope that I do the same for them. And I've been on both sides. I think that's important too. If you've been the leader and if you've also been a hiree, like you need to know what it feels like to be on both sides. And sure. It gives you a lot more compassion. You don't need to, but if you don't know what it's like to be on the other side, realize you don't know what it's like to be on the other side. So be kind. And show up on time, and
That's another issue.
and answer your emails. Answer the emails.
Yes. Don't send me a WhatsApp message or recorded audio message on WhatsApp. Answer it.
No, unless you're trying to describe an artistic thing. That's another.
Well, that's something else.
Yeah, but not like, yes, I will be there. No, I can't be there. That's not. Yeah. The person who gets the gig is the first person to answer the email.
That's true.
Honestly, like, okay. And yeah. So, I've had, I'm also hiring people like, cinematographers, makeup artists, assistants, there are more than just band members.
That's a tricky business.
Yes. Cause it is, the standards are different. And again, the same basic respect rules apply, give me your rate ahead of time and let's negotiate ahead of time. And then we all show up, everybody's ready to work. We have a great day. Amazing how that works. So we make a great product.
But like the standard, what you said, the standard of, what is considered a good job is crucial to make it happen. Because a lot of times, either musicians or assistants, they show up and they think, oh, this is good enough. But actually, not knowing your music before the show or not being able to hire a car when you need to hire a car, that meant that the band will not be there for the show is not good enough. Trying your best in that case is just not good enough.
Yeah.
And sometimes you kind of relentlessly drive the message home, like multiple times before it actually happens. Mm-hmm. There's a learning curve.
Of course there is. And sometimes you make decisions based upon, there's a downside to hiring this person, but the upsides outweigh the downsides. So I'm going to hire this person. And then that might make somebody else feel bad or pissy about it or something. And it's like, okay, you're going to be whiny or are you going to do the gig?
after a few glasses of wine, he'll get whinier.
Exactly.
We don't want that to happen.
No.
Do you do contracts with your bandmates?
Only when, I mean, well, for the most part, email is a contract. If it's written on an email, it's in writing. If it's a tour, yeah.
I do that for tours.
Yeah, I do it for tours and for big job, like big recording sessions, little agreements, like you're getting paid this. Okay, show up. Yeah. Okay. It's just kind of how the world works. And you're making a promise, you're making a good faith, and that's fine. And it's great.
Are you writing it down, guys? These tips are gold.
Yeah.
From two very old cats in the industry, I would.
Are salty road dogs now, aren't we?
That's a good one. I'm lucky not to have married a musician. And I think musician spouses rule because they balance us out because, we're weird and eccentric, and we don't really have a lot of perspective on how the world is.
We need help.
We need help.
We need help.
I couldn't agree more. And you also married a non-musician, and I saw you mention that many times, that you're like thankful for having someone there who is not in the art world. Well, my husband is in the art world. He's a painter and is a graphic designer. And he's
creative.
Yeah, he's creative. So it doesn't balance everything out all the time, but there is something there. He's not a performer, which is also, it's a thing.
Right.
Yeah. But you married a nerd.
I did.
Which is even better.
And he married a nerd, but just in a different kind of nerd space. But yeah. Well, actually, he is a bass player. So we met at Berklee College of Music. Mm-hmm. Okay. He became a software developer when he realized, after going to Berklee, I'm good at music, but I'm not crazy like all of you. And he was much happier doing something else. However, no, he's not a musician by trade. He's got high standards in his musical taste because he is a trained musician. And he's spoiled with his music because he's around me all the time, and I have high musical taste. And I was raised by musicians. I was raised by music teachers, my parents. So music is kind of, I didn't really choose it. It just kind of chose me. It was the only option I ever had. Whereas my husband, Chris, had many options and many choices, and he didn't care about being the best musician in the world. And he just cares about doing a good job with his life. What a concept. And so he's a software developer, and that's also, it's very calculated, and you have to do it right for it to work. But it also has a creative aspect. So I think our guys are very similar in that regard. But he's certainly not a performer. Certainly not a performer. He's wonderful. I don't know how he's great. I'm speechless by it.
Great. It's great to have that balance at home, man, at home. Yeah. Well, if you're already talking about balance, I have to strike with at least one difficult question, and that's about gender balance, which is somehow still an issue in the music industry. And I want to share a story with you that last year I got this email from a colleague of mine who has this famous jazz festival in Europe, and he was announcing his program. So I looked at all the bands performing, and I realized there were only 2 girls in the entire program, and there were like 41 bands, and these girls weren't even band leaders, so they were like accompanists in someone else's band. And then I sent him an email saying like, hey, did you notice that the rate of your female artists in the festival is about 4.8% out of the entire pool, and maybe we should start a conversation about it, because it's an important thing to discuss. And then he wrote back a furious email saying like, I don't have time to look for female musicians, and only 5% of them applied, so why would I even give them my attention if they don't bother to apply? And I was thinking about it for a while, and I thought like, well, if I'm not being represented at your festival, like if I see that there are 41 bands and all of them are male and only two accompanists and like band members are female, why would I even bother applying to that festival? So then the need of having representation or a role model if I was all a girl looking at that, I would have liked to see a role model to see with myself if I aspire to do this. And also as a musician applying to a festival nowadays, would I waste my time on a festival that is unlikely to program me when I apply? I'm sure you have a lot of stories in that regard, being a female in the art world. So, well, first of all, what would be your reply to an email like that? Yeah.
To an email like that?
Yeah. What would you say?
I wouldn't bother with him. I wouldn't even reply. Yeah. I would just keep doing my thing. I grew up in Seattle, Washington, a beautiful town, north of Seattle, near the mountains. It was a great place to grow up. Oh, it's gorgeous. And I, again, like I mentioned, was raised by two parents who are music teachers, and they are not all musicians are gifted teachers. They happen to be. I know, and they're gifted communicators, and not all musicians are. When I showed early signs of wanting to be a musician, and not just being good at it, but wanting to do it, they obviously just said to me, "Great, it's a lot of hard work, ready to go. Okay, cool." They didn't force me, but they didn't force me, but they helped. They fostered it. And I went and I was in musical theater productions at first because that was what was around. And I did that. And then I wanted to play the trombone, which you play. And my dad is a trumpet player, and and I was 11 or 12 when I started.
So you played duets?
We should have more. We didn't a lot, but he was also a high school principal, which was a demanding job. So he was busy, but yeah, under no circumstances at any point did anyone say to me as a kid, a girl can't play the trombone.
Really?
No one said that to me. Ever.
I've heard that every day.
Never.
Growing up.
Maybe like some granny might have said it, but I didn't, by and large, I was not getting that message. I was just getting the message, Count Basie, listen to Count Basie, and that's a great message. So I like that message. And I watched a lot of the documentaries, and I saw a lot of men mostly playing instruments, and I didn't really mind. It just didn't matter. I didn't care. I didn't need to be represented. I was representing myself because I had a trombone and I loved it. And it was so great. And it could make, and this, the trombone can cry. The trombone can laugh. The trombone can weep and be beautiful and be fun and be funky and be everything. And I was a singer already. And I liked the fact that the trombone could do what the voice could do. And I was in the band. There were, in my 7th grade band class, all of the trombone players were girls. And then all the trumpet players were boys. That didn't matter. I didn't really care.
I was the only one.
Cool. In 8th grade, I was the only one. And then throughout most of my career, I'm the only girl. And somebody asked me once, and so, observationally speaking, quantity-wise, 4% probably is pretty accurate. I would suppose if you were to do like where are the women in jazz, 4% makes a lot of sense. I think that's probably accurate, which is very little. And yet, you and I both know, like, all the women trombone players, we all like have each other's phone numbers because, hey, girl, and it's fun to meet them. And it's so fun when I go to, and I'm very girly, like I'm quite girly, and I'm never on the road with women, like ever.
What makes you girly?
I like to be cute and to talk about PMS and to talk about, I like to have, I like to have somebody to sympathize with, and yet when I see a girl on tour, I'm like, oh my gosh, do you think this dress is cute or not? And then the guys are like, I don't care. And the girls are like, yeah, but that one's better and that one's better. I'm like, yes, somebody. And most of the time I don't get that. And I have been, I guess, confronted by comments, maybe of an older generation, maybe of whomever, occasionally. Oh, that's a pretty big instrument for a girl. I just don't really care what you think. I just kind of don't care at all. And I don't need to fight you. I'm just doing and by and large, I get more gigs as a girl playing the trombone than some guys who are better at the trombone than me. And I find that I feel a little dirty because I'm like, don't you want to hire me because I'm good? Or do you want to hire me because I'm a girl?
But did people actually approach you saying, I want a female trombone player and that's why I found you? Really?
Oh, yeah.
That never happened to me.
Or what they'll say is like, you're so unique because you're a girl. So we want you at our festival. And I'm like, I mean, okay, I'll be there. But okay. And then again, back to the whole like use what you got thing. What do I have? Yeah. Okay, I'll use it. Yeah. Which makes me quite privileged, actually. So, gosh, okay, that's heavy. Yeah. And then, and then I do a lot of high school and college, gigs, and I see a lot of young people and a lot of young girls and a lot of band directors. Most of the band directors that I meet that are mentoring young people are always saying to me, I'm so glad you're here because of the girls in my band. Because they care so deeply about the girls in their band. So if you're a band director watching this, thank you. You are doing more. I know it's a thankless job. I know that it's really hard. I watched my parents do it, but you're doing things that you don't know the impact you're having. You are having a huge impact. But I'm getting male band directors coming up to me saying, thank you for being here. I need my girls in my band to meet you. And so, yes, of course, that role model thing is huge. But the girls ask me, they'll say, what's it like to be a woman in a male-dominated world? And my answer is, I'm not dominated by any of the males. So it's great. In fact, all of the males that I choose to work with, and by and large, most of the people who've lifted me up and put me and helped me have been male, and they've been very good to me, and I'm grateful for them. So, what is it like? Great. And I'm used to being the only girl, and I don't mind. I'm very respected. If I encounter disrespect from anyone, male or female, I will have to counter it somehow, whether that's leaving the situation or if I'm in a position of authority, firing someone, or if I'm not, whether male or female. And so that's I wouldn't have answered his email. I don't think he's worth my time.
I like this attitude. It's it's proactive. It's passive aggressive, but it's proactive. I like it.
I think it's pretty aggressive. Passive aggressive is when you when you're saying something that you don't actually mean.
Yeah, but I mean, like choosing not to reply, it's passive.
Oh,
but
sure.
In a way, it's also active.
Sure.
And aggressive.
Actively choosing not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I might show it to my husband and be like, look at this guy. And we'd laugh, and then we'd drink wine, and then we'd move on, Yeah.
And then we'd move on. I think that sums it up. And then we move on.
Yeah.
All right. So, your partnership with Rhythmic Rebellion. Mm-hmm. I was curious about that myself. And I think that's actually how we started talking, right? Like on Instagram, you posted something. Let me know if you want to know about Rhythmic Rebellion. I send you a message. And then, you send me like an invitation link. and then I invited you to the podcast. And I was really curious, and I actually admit I didn't get everything from the website. So maybe you can say, why is this a valid offer for DIY musicians, and why and how, in what way it's combating the lousy streaming fees that we are all experiencing when we release music?
Yep. So just because I'm sponsored with them, you know, I actually think they're pretty awesome. I do actually think they're pretty awesome.
But what does it mean that you're sponsored by them?
They partnered with me, and I am a paid I was for a couple months a paid sponsor to try to build a website with them, which is a lot of work. As everyone knows, once you start building a website, you're like, I thought I would be done, but I have like 100 more years to go. So it's like it's a website platform like Wix and like Squarespace. And you can build your website with them. However, when you register a song title, you are registering just like you would you use ASCAP, you use BMI, you use whatever publishing rights corporation you write with, and you register your song on their platform, and it's licensed. And every time someone follows you on Rhythmic Rebellion gives you $2.
That's a good deal.
It's a good deal. And that's not for the sponsored people. That's for everyone. And Rhythmic Rebellion, what I like about it is it's a platform that's changing the way streaming is. Now they're going to have to be pretty loud to get, and they're going to have to be pretty, they're going to have to grow to make any dent in the whole Spotify or iTunes or Apple Music thing. But what I like about it is I'm here with them at the beginning here. And if it works, it's going to be really good. And if it doesn't work,
charge a fee from the listeners to play the tracks?
They do after a certain amount of times they've played it.
So like Bandcamp.
It's very similar to Bandcamp. Yes. But you can integrate your writer account with your artist account. You integrate your fan base. Your fans can do kind of like a Patreon thing where it's called the Artist Penthouse, where they do pay for that, and they get early release. They get whatever you want them to get. And
it's subscription based.
It is subscription based. But the money the artist is more directly compensated, and it's pretty much impossible to pirate on Rhythmic Rebellion. Also, the development team is very responsive. When you have a problem, you email them and they email you back, or they call you. Okay. So
that's a win.
And it's small. It's a startup right now, so they're going to call you, and maybe one day it won't be that way, but right now it is. It was started by a friend of mine at Berklee College of Music. Her name is Allison Pizzioni, and she is a singer-songwriter, and she got on the early team of Rhythmic Rebellion. She was the one who reached out to me because we went to school together. And here I am releasing this cover album. I mean, 2 of the songs are originals and the rest is standards. And I'm on Rhythmic Rebellion having to register every single writer of every single song and pay for licensing in order to release these songs on Rhythmic Rebellion. So whoever else, it's like a social network of musicians. So whoever wants to cover my songs, I get the credit.
Great.
And I give the credit to whomever I'm covering by paying for licensing, which they help you through. You have to go find the licensing just like you would anywhere with Harry Fox, with anybody, and register it whenever you register any song on Rhythmic Rebellion. Unless you are the writer, but presumably if you are the writer, you have made a writer's account on Rhythmic Rebellion, which is connected to your bank account, you get paid. Complicated, just like the whole music industry is all the time anyway.
No rule book.
But above board, whereas much of the streaming platforms are not. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think
also, it's cool because it is a website hosting platform and you have everything in one place.
So that's cool. You can do your licensing and your hosting.
Right. And you can have your writing account and your artist account and your fan emails integrated. And it's done
40 degrees deal.
It's smartly done. Also, just the attention they give you at this early on is very nice.
Nice.
Very helpful.
Okay, so as in Dutch you would say an uitsluiter, which is like the closing statement. I have this 10 question series from Bernard Pivot. You probably know it if you watch the Actors Studio. It's supposed to be associative, so you're supposed to reply with the first thing that comes to mind, but I'm not that strict, so just, What?
Okay.
What is your favorite word?
Boodles.
What does that mean?
It's the gin that I like.
Okay, send me a photo after.
Okay.
What is your least favorite word?
Moist.
Moist. That doesn't work with trombone, man.
No.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Swimming pools.
What turns you off?
Tennis courts. I'm trying here.
You're doing your best, man. What is your favorite curse word?
Shit.
You were thinking there. I saw it.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
Boing.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, nails across the chalkboard.
Mine too.
You too.
Yeah. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
An athletic coach, fitness instructor.
Are you like one of these people that say, yo, do this?
No. I'm one of those people that says, take a deep breath and do it better.
You're like a yoga instructor. What profession other than your own would you not like to do?
Tour manager.
Well, I do that anyway because I do.
Right. I mean, sure. Yeah, we do.
Something that I do that I wouldn't like to do.
Exactly.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you pass the gates?
Well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter into my rest.
My servant.
Yes.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've been really awesome to hang out with.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
taking you, Nani.
the time. And come again whenever
I will.
you want. Like, you're super welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you have an excellent week. And I can't wait to post this.
Yay.
Great.
Thank you very much for joining us today. As you know, YDIY Music offers scholarships for independent musicians. So if you want to register, go to ydiymusic.com/scholarship and submit your application form. All donations to this podcast will be used to help young musicians get a proper education. So please visit ydiymusic.com/donate and make a contribution. You could also send a direct PayPal transfer to paypal.me/Noam Vazana. Join me next week, Thursday, March 18th, as I'll be interviewing Michael Klinghoffer, the Dean of Music Academy in Jerusalem, Israel. And in the meantime, good luck, keep calm, and DIY.